Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's episode of Health Code. I hope you're well. So today we're going to talk about overall health. We're going to talk about weight loss jabs as two of the key subjects to discuss in this evening's episode, because when these weight loss jabs first came out around 18 months or 2 years ago, I'll confess, and it was stupid of my kind of ignorance, I assumed it would be a really small minority that would take up this opportunity as it was being portrayed, and that it would be something that would blow cold very, very quickly. It would be here, it would be gone, it wouldn't get the interest, it wouldn't garner support, and not enough people would take it, so therefore it would be on the market and then very quickly off it. However, how wrong could I have been? Literally millions of people in different parts of the world, lots of them here in the UK, have been taking up this weight loss jab as a way to get, in their words, summer ready. When really everyone knows how to get summer ready. You eat a bit less, or you eat a bit more of the right stuff, and you move more. It's really that simple. But instead, so many people seem to have taken what is considered the easy or the lazy approach and gone and seen their doctor or gone and seen their pharmacist, taken this weight loss jab, which is designed to suppress your appetite and therefore obviously leads you to eat less, and as a result you lose weight. There's never been any widespread mainstream discussion about the dangers of these vaccines. You certainly won't get those questions answered by your doctor or your pharmacist, because obviously they have a financial incentive in you taking up this offer, just like with the COVID jab, just like with other things, where there's a conflict of interest when it comes to money. You're never going to get objective, balanced information that allows you to make an informed choice. Therefore, you don't have informed consent, which is obviously a big key buzz term when it comes to medical freedom of all kinds. So this morning we're going to discuss some of those dangers. This evening we're going to discuss some of those dangers, and we're going to discuss the fact that they are being ignored despite them being commonly known now. However, you're not told them in advance. Even if you ask your physician, I doubt they'll really give you objective information because, as I've already said, there's a conflict of interest. So before we dive into that, this is a headline from yesterday, which is that UK healthy life expectancy has fallen by 2 years in the last decade. Now, that's not overall life expectancy of how long you're meant to live. That's life expectancy of what they call healthy life. So not having medications every day, not having a number of health issues which cause you to stop being able to do certain things in your life. The number of years, essentially, that you're in what's considered good health. So it's now 60 years old. So once you get to 60 years old, you should expect to see and hear and have various different health issues. That is the only country in the top 21 richest countries in the world to be in that list, the UK. The only one in Europe, sorry. Only one of only 5 in the top 21, and the only one in Europe. So that's not a good sign. That's not a good direction of travel. That's not a good metric to read for a country that's supposedly one of the wealthiest, has supposedly one of the best healthcare systems, access to the best quality ingredients, and all of those. It's not the best, is it? Really? Yet we look at other countries and we have this perception that Britain is a step ahead. We are levels above in various different contexts, this bastion of democracy, this first world country, when we're not. When it comes to health, America is even worse. In America, around 50% of adults are on one or more medications for various different chronic diseases and illnesses. So many children now, around 30% of children have chronic diseases at such a young age as well, under 16. The direction is not a good one. Now, we can get into the conspiracy side of it, which is that if you're trying to control a population, you don't want them healthy. You don't want them fit, vibrant, energetic. You want them, one, dependent on the system for their medications, for their survival, because then, dependency creates control. So there's money there, there's profit there, which is one angle to look at it. And the other one is, if you wanted to start a fight with somebody, who are you going to go and pick on? Are you going to go and pick on the biggest, strongest, healthiest looking person in the pub? Or are you going to go and pick on the weakest, most feeble looking? Well, I know who you'd rather fight. So in terms of control of humanity, they don't want us in that first category. They want us in that position where we're much easier to control because we're weak. We're less likely to fight back. The Fabian Society, which is a secret society here in the UK, which came to a little bit more prominence in the mainstream during this Labour leadership, because so many of them are involved, or so many of them are members of the Fabian Society, but it dates back way, way, way before and involves people like Aldous Huxley and George Orwell and the books they obviously wrote, Brave New World and 1984. The Fabian Society are a long-standing organisation, but their leader used to have a modus operandi of never wanting to have a decisive battle, never wanting to have a 50-50 fight that could easily go either way. His idea and his philosophy was to weaken the enemy consistently over time to the point that one day you just walk in and take over and they're not in a position to resist. That's what I look at, and that's what I conclude when I look at humanity and I look at the health of people. They are weakening us over time, more and more and more, whether it's what's in your food, whether it's what's not in your food now, whether it's what's in your water, whether it's what's being sprayed from the skies, whether it's the increasing stress and anxiety that people have to suffer just to simply survive, whether it's what's in these poisonous vaccines that are given to kids at an incredibly young age. To name just a few, whether it's the toxins that are in the environment, whether it's the toxins and chemicals that are in domestic household products, whether it's the pharmaceutical drugs that are given to people all over the world and a lot of children now at very young ages to deal with things like behavioural conditions and so on. All of those things are consistently weakening us over time, more and more and more, to the point that resistance is something that won't even be considered, won't even be possible. That's what they want. They want to just walk in and take over. So seeing some metrics and statistics about life expectancy and about quality of life decreasing is not something that's a surprise to me whatsoever. It's something that's very much in line with what they're trying to achieve there. So with that in mind, let's now move on to these weight loss jabs. So these weight loss jabs, as I said, the way they are supposedly meant to work is they suppress your appetite. They make you feel full, so therefore you don't eat as much, you don't snack, you don't take in any calories in the same level, so you have some kind of calorie deficit. Now, for people that don't know what a calorie deficit is, if I'm meant to eat 2,500 calories a day, which is what, according to mainstream health, as a man I should be eating 2,500, that alone is a myth, because look at the size of me compared to somebody who's 5 foot. As if we're meant to eat the same amount of food. That's absolutely ridiculous. So, but let's just work on that simple number for a second. If I want to lose weight, I'll say take in 2,000. So I'll have a 500 calorie a day deficit. If I want to exercise on top of that, then that deficit might be bigger, which will lead to some kind of weight loss. If you do it the right way, it will lead to loss of fat. If you do it the wrong way, it can lead to loss of muscle and have a situation where you lose weight but actually don't look any better. What essentially these jabs do is, rather than you having to consciously think, I'm going to be in a deficit, so therefore have to say no to foods that you might want to eat, it essentially tricks your brain and tricks your body into feeling full, so you don't want to eat those foods. Now, people might look at that description of those jabs and say, well, that sounds good. That sounds like it's going to make my life easier. I'm not going to have those cravings. I'm not going to have a situation where I feel disappointed and sad that I have to say no to this or no to that. And, okay, I can understand why you might think that. But at what expense? And that's what we're going to talk about, because that's what's really, really important. The thing I mentioned a minute ago, which is the difference between fat loss and muscle loss. Obviously, muscle is incredibly important for your body. It's one of the key metrics you can use to look at quality of life, to look at life expectancy, is muscle mass in your older age. Those with muscle mass, and I'm not talking about your big bodybuilders in your 70s, but just people that use their muscles. They keep their body moving. They keep them well trained. They've got a much better opportunity to have a longer life. That's not an exact science, of course. There will be anomalies to that. However, that's a metric that is used to look at quality and length of life. So you don't want to be burning muscle, ideally. You want to be burning fat, because fat, in a number where it's over and above what your body needs to survive, is not doing anything for your body. It's essentially putting more strain on your organs. It's putting more strain on your muscles if you're carrying around additional weight. So it's not a good thing. Obviously, I don't agree with, someone walking around at 2, 3, 4% body fat either. I don't think in the long run that's sustainable or particularly healthy. But if you're walking around somewhere between 10 and 15% body fat for a man, then I think that's a pretty healthy range to be in. If you're walking around at 25, 30%, then it's not. So you don't really want to be burning muscle. You want to be burning fat. Now, this first story, which we're going to talk about here from the Diabetes UK website, which is that weight loss jabs can lead to muscle loss as well as fat loss, because obviously it can't differentiate. If I decide that I'm going to eat my way to a better diet, I'm going to eat my way to better health, and I'm going to exercise, I can dictate a bit more about where that where that weight loss comes from. If I just take in a calorie deficit, but I eat really good stuff, I eat high protein diet, so protein that's protecting those muscles, I can't really dictate. I'm likely to lose fat rather than muscle. Can't necessarily dictate where that where that weight loss comes from. However, if I then train alongside that and I do a specific type of training that targets my upper body, my lower body, my core, whatever, then all of a sudden now I'm protecting that muscle by eating lots of protein. So I'm going to lose weight because I'm in a deficit. And then adding in the exercise alongside that targets certain parts of your body, I'm then more likely to lose the weight in the areas that I want to lose it. Really, really simple dynamic. Exercise and diet very much go hand in hand. You can't really do one without the other. If you were going to pick one and only do one, I'd suggest doing the diet. But really, they should go hand in hand because they very much support each other and work in unison. Whereas with these jabs, they don't understand that. They will just cause you to not want to eat. And they will just cause weight loss in a very general term, which can include muscle loss and will include muscle loss. Hence why, if you showed me two people that were overweight and then in 2 months, one of them took the weight loss jab and the other one simply changed their diet and went for exercise, I could tell you which one was which, as could you. It would be very obvious. We've seen the pictures in the mainstream media and online of these celebrities that have had this shocking sudden weight loss. It's so obvious that they have taken this jab. It's not something that you can hide. It's something that's abundantly obvious. And the fact that it's abundantly obvious should be a warning sign for the fact it's obviously doing something to your body that is not natural. It's not for the benefit. Someone that goes to the gym, someone that eats really well, has decided to exercise. Generally, when they lose weight, they look better. They look healthier, they look more vibrant, and people will notice and observe that. People that are taking these weight loss jabs, you see them, they look gaunt, they look grey, they look far from healthy and vibrant. Again, that should be telling you something. And the muscle wastage that goes alongside with it is obviously not in any way a good thing. So moving on to this story here from The Sun. Scott's widow's warning, not the financial company Scottish Widows, but a widow, Scottish lady, warning over her husband's death after taking the Ozempic weight loss jab. A grieving widow has warned others to think before taking the jab after her husband died shortly after taking the Ozempic medication. Rob Briggs, 55, was left fighting for his life after taking this jab. He suffered a catastrophic internal bleed before his heart simply stopped and they were unable to resuscitate him. Now, he was only 55. He has a rare genetic disorder that causes ulcers, thinning bones, and tumours. He also inherited a syndrome which increases his chance to get type 2 diabetes. In a bid to try and curb the condition, Rob asked his GP if he could be put on this medication. Now, his GP has a lot of responsibility then, clearly, for what happened to this man, because his GP has put him on a jab, which is, in my opinion, dangerous for everyone in different ways, but certainly would be dangerous for somebody with a condition like that, and he's put him on it. So obviously this lady is completely distraught. Her husband, 55, who, looking at the picture of him there, is not overweight, so surely wouldn't be qualified for this jab. And she's now lost him. And she's obviously going to be devastated. She's obviously going to be angry. And it's going to be a cautionary tale for other people to think. Because when you work on the assumption that your doctor or your pharmacist has your best interest at heart and is invested in your outcome in terms of your health, you've lost the plot. They don't. They don't care. They care about their bottom line. They care about their own careers. They care about their own status, and they care about their lining their own pockets. They don't care about your health. They're not the one that are picking up the pieces after this man has died. And I'm assuming probably at that age left children, maybe even grandchildren as well. They're not there picking up the pieces. They're probably, I guarantee that doctor is probably giving someone a weight loss jab this week. Still, this period on from knowing that's happened as a result. Just like people that gave out all those COVID jabs saw the side effects and would have seen some of them firsthand with people collapsing in the vaccination centres, I bet they still lined up to the next person. It's utterly insane. And one of the key breakthroughs I feel like we've got to get through to the masses is that your doctors and your healthcare professionals actually don't care about your health. I think once you believe that, all of a sudden you look at everything with a much more skeptical eye. You're much more open to the fact that these things aren't good for you. And just because my doctor said it doesn't mean it's actually the right thing for me. While we have that mindset, while people have that mindset, it's going to be a difficult battle. It's going to be a very difficult battle because, and I understand, people don't want to believe that the system is there to try and essentially destroy your health, but you've only got to look at the facts. Look at the medical institutions. Look at the food and drug agencies. Look at the media and what's pushed and what's not. Look at the education system and what's taught. I had to speak to my own son yesterday, who's 6 next week. I had to speak to him when we were driving home, and he was talking to me about carbohydrates, fats and proteins because they'd learned about the Eat Well plate in school. And I had to tell you, mate, that's basically complete BS. And I had to essentially re-educate him that if you eat that, essentially all you're going to be is unhealthy. And that's what they're still teaching at school now. You've only got to look at all those things to make a very simple conclusion, which is that the mainstream of everything is there to try and destroy your health, not there to try and help you thrive. Really, really basic, really, really simple. So now, when we come on to this just solidifies that argument more. Over 1 million people in the UK are to be offered this vaccine, not just offered it on the NHS, so offered it on the taxpayer's dime, free of charge, to prevent strokes and heart attacks. Okay. So if you're at risk of a heart attack, if you're at risk of a stroke because of weight, your diet's not great. Because you generally don't, very few, some people will argue this, of course, and there is conditions out there that will be an anomaly to this. But most people, the vast, vast, overwhelming majority, the 99.99% or whatever, of people that are overweight because they eat too much crap. Most people that are overweight are not overweight because they're eating too much salad, too many fruits, too many vegetables, and too much stuff that's good for you. That's invariably not true. It's too much fast food, it's too much processed food, and it's too much of stuff that you don't want to be putting into your body in any kind of quantity. So your solution to that, as the National Health Service, is to give people another synthetic, fake, not natural medication to circumvent the damage caused by eating and drinking lots of other synthetic, not natural, and fake ingredients. It's not to either educate people about what they should be eating and giving them better advice than they're being given now, or putting more pressure on the food and drug agencies and the regulators to make it more and more difficult for these kind of highly processed toxic foods to be so readily available on the market. That's what you would do. You'd do both those two things in conjunction with each other. You'd make toxic food more difficult to come by, you'd have much stricter regulations on what is fit for consumption, and you'd educate people on what actually good food looks like. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to offer you a drug which has provably got so many side effects, and a drug that is going to obviously make us a profit. We don't make a profit if you all of a sudden start eating well, do we? We don't make a profit if we start regulating these highly processed food companies, but we'll make a profit if you take Ozempic. Again, how much more evidence do you need that this system is not designed to give you good health? It's designed to essentially bleed you dry and destroy your health. Incredibly simple. The other really important thing to talk about there is weight loss is an outcome. The journey to it is exactly that. It's a journey. And that journey can involve putting really good, nutritious food into your body. It can involve really good exercise, which cause the release of positive endorphins, which help you feel happier and obviously have really good positive effects on your mood, on your mental health, and on the body in general. It can involve that. That can be part of your journey on a weekly and a daily basis, which then leads to the outcome of losing weight. Or you can just inject something into your body that makes you not want to eat. But what you eat doesn't necessarily change. You're still eating your crap, just a bit less of it. You're not exercising and releasing all those positive endorphins. You're not eating nutrient-dense food, which nourishes your body and gives you more energy and gives your organs and your muscles and your vital bodily systems the energy it needs to function at a good rate and thrive. That's the journey. And the outcome is, in a sense, the same, but you're not really in control of that. Hence why so many people that have had this jab lose weight so quickly and they look awful as a result of it. Which one sounds healthier? Which one sounds like it's more natural? Which one sounds like it's going to benefit you in the long run better? And also, here's the key, which one sounds more sustainable? How many people this summer now, what we're sat here, end of April, how many people have got summer holidays booked in June, July, August, that are going to take this jab, go and have those holiday pics and be like, I look great. And then come October, November, are going to be back to where they were before. So is that healthy? To fluctuate so much up and down in weight? Absolutely not. But the fact that 1 million of these are going to be rolled out and offered to people, not just offered to people who want to go and buy it, they're offered to people as a preventative health measure. Free of charge. When if you are at risk of a heart attack or at risk of a stroke, and you're at risk of those things because you're overweight, surely a change of lifestyle and a change of diet and a change of relationship with exercise is going to be the best way to go, rather than a jab that has untold side effects that just makes you not want to eat. Honestly, it's mad. It's literally so mad. It's almost laughable when you describe how backward this whole system is. It's so backward. And I think, lots of people that are watching this, I'm sure, will have a similar attitude to myself, which is that if you care about your health, the last place you do is go near a doctor. The last place you do is go near any mainstream health institution. The last place. Especially when it comes to ongoing health. If you drop down, if you break your leg, if you have a stroke, if you have a heart attack, if you're in a car accident, the mainstream hospital is the place to go. For acute problems, they can help you. But for chronic ongoing issues and general health and overall well-being, they literally don't have a clue, because the whole system is designed for them to not have a clue. In a 7-year PhD doctorate to be a general physician here in the UK, you spend 1 week to 10 days of that entire period learning about nutrition. And the bit that you will learn will be about things like the eat well plate, and that grains and things like that should make up the vast majority of your diet, when that's the last thing that we should be eating. If you look at the animal kingdom, and this is a very important thing to consider, if you look at the animal kingdom, most of those animals still eat what they innately and naturally have eaten in terms of their diet and their ancestral diet. A lion is not going around eating shrubs all of a sudden. Lions will eat meat. They will hunt meat. Now, lions are fit, strong animals with barely any fat on them at all. Whereas human beings, we've completely transformed our diet in the last 50 years to 100 years. Completely transformed it. As we've become more domesticated and as supposedly we've got more and more towards the pinnacle of evolution, our diets have changed, and alongside that, our health has changed. People are weaker. People are having mental health issues like never before. People are having physical issues at younger ages like never before. And people might argue and say, life expectancy is going up. But what about quality of life? If you're on a bunch of medication for half your life just to simply get through the day, how's that a quality of life? If you're getting out of bed in your 30s and you're aching and you're tired and you're lethargic and you need 2 coffees just to get you out of the house and a bottle of wine at the end of the night just to switch off from the day, how is that a quality of life? It's not just about life expectancy. That's an outcome. What's the journey to it like? How many people spend the last 10, 15 years of their life in homes not knowing their own name, not recognizing their own children? I can only speak from my granddad, but he lived till he was mid-80s, but he died about 75, really. So is that what we want? Or do we want to live a long, healthy life where right up until the end, we know what's going on? We're able to do things. We're able to get outside and enjoy nature. We're able to take walks. We're able to go on holidays. We're able to be present with our friends and our family. That's the last thing the system wants. It doesn't want that. And it's certainly the last thing the NHS wants. That's why it's rolling out this jab to so many people. And this is a final one. This is my favourite. Zoe Shrimpel from The Telegraph. What a name that is. Jesus. Fat jabs for all will herald an epidemic of smugness. When a larger share of the ordinary masses can enjoy slimline lifestyles, expect new frontiers of peacocking. I'm not being funny. When I'm going to Spain in a few weeks with the family. If someone's walking around, shirt off, peacocking, and it's obvious they've done it because they've had a weight loss jab, I'm just going to laugh. Because it's not peacocking for 2 reasons. One, you're telling me something about your character, which is you're lazy and you want a quick fix and you don't really care about your health, you care about the outcome. And secondly, you're sat there being smug now, but what about all the health problems you're inevitably going to have as a result of taking this jab? Are you going to be smug then, or are you going to feel a complete prat? The arrogance. And I'm not having a go at people who had the jab. This woman is the most ridiculous, comment of all there. What is there to be smug about? It's like walking in and going, "Oh, I've lost 2 stone. Look at me." Yeah, but you chopped your leg off to do it, mate. Well, yeah, but I've still lost 2 stone. Would you be smug about that? Of course you wouldn't. It's mad. When you look at this world, it's so backward. When you look at health, it's so backward. Health is really simple. Really simple. The things that we should be eating, I think they differentiate between person to person. I'm not one of those people that sits here and says there's one diet for all. There's one fix-all diet. We've all got different genetics. We've all got different body structures. We've all got different muscle mass. We all need different things. What works for me might not work for you and vice versa. But there's some general rules that you can apply regardless. You want the freshest, highest quality stuff. Whether you're vegan, whether you're carnivore, whether you're somewhere in between. You want the best quality ingredients, simple. You want the fewest possible ingredients. You want the most natural ingredients. If you're picking up a packet and it's got 30 ingredients in it, most of which you couldn't even name, they start with E numbers and so on, that's not natural. That's not something you want to be putting into your body. But it's really, really simple. Just apply those rules. You want fresh stuff. You want simple ingredients. You want single ingredient foods. You don't want processed stuff. And if you do, you have it in smaller quantities and very much limit it, and you'll get somewhere. It's not that difficult. Move more, get out and do some walking. If you've got time, get into the gym, go to a spin class, go and join a sports club, something that gets your body moving. If you've got a manual job where you're constantly moving all day, great. If you work in an office, don't sit down for 8 hours straight. Get up every half an hour, 40 minutes, have a little walk around, shake your body out, get it moving. It's really not difficult. If you drink, limit it. You don't have to completely rip up and take life to the extremes. You just have to make some better choices. And these are the sort of things that your doctor and your healthcare professional should be advising you. But I don't know about you, but if you've walked into most hospitals, and you look at the workforce, they look exactly like the people I'm describing. They look like some of the unhealthiest people you can possibly meet. Vast majority of nurses that I've interacted with in my life have been overweight. You see the amount of them smoking stood outside. It's hardly a beacon of health, is it? You hardly walk in and go, geez, everyone here looks good. Everyone here looks vibrant. Everyone here is setting a standard that I should be part of, or I should want to adhere to, because they all look great. They sound great. They look happy. You know, if you want to, it's very, very simple. If you want to create an outcome, then you set an example. And if you're going to work in a healthcare institution, surely you should be taking your own advice. You know, would you hire a personal trainer that was 5 stone overweight? Probably not. But you'll go and see a doctor who's going to give you advice on things related to your health and at points your weight, who's 5 stone overweight, and you're going to listen to that advice and do what they tell you to do. It's so backward. And like I said, it would be funny if it wasn't so dangerous and it wasn't causing so many issues for so many people. That's what makes it sad. And that's what makes it extremely dangerous. Because if it doesn't change, it's just going to continue. And these weight loss jabs, the dangers, the side effects are so obvious now, so clear to see. Like I said, whether it's somebody you know that's had it and you can tell they've had it, if you can tell, something's clearly changed. And I'm not just talking about the weight loss, because as I said earlier, when someone's lost weight because they've changed their diet, they've gone to the gym and so on, that you can tell there's normally a vibrancy to them. They normally look good. It's normally very noticeable. People that have lost weight through this jab, a lot of people that I see, particularly the people you see in the mainstream media area, the celebrities, they look awful. And people are commenting on it. They look gaunt. They look like they've lost a lot of weight way too quickly. And it doesn't work for them. That clearly shows there's a problem, doesn't it? Clearly shows there's a problem. But still, these things are being championed. Still, these things are being rolled out on the NHS. Still, you've got celebrities doing op-eds in the media saying about how great they are. And then you've got prats like this person from the Telegraph saying it's going to herald a new epidemic of smugness. Well, unfortunately, the only people that are going to be smug in the long run are the people that take actual care of their health, because short-term fixes are exactly that, short-term fixes, and they generally lead to long-term problems. What really should be being advised, as I've said a few times, is a sustainable, ongoing way of taking control and care of your health. And that doesn't come in the form of a synthetic vaccine. That comes in the form of good food, good exercise, good quality lifestyle, reducing stress, all of those things that we know, they're very, very obvious and very commonly known, but instead they're not being advised by mainstream health institutions. They're being pushed by people like me and by other alternative health practitioners, homeopaths, herbalists, and so on. And that just tells you once and for all that the mainstream healthcare industry, because that's what it is, it's an industry, it's a business, doesn't care about your health. It cares about its bottom line. And that, unfortunately, is a realization that the large majority of the world needs to come to. And then we can look at how we can start something from the ground up that maybe actually works for us, rather than something that works for the bottom line of those people trying to line their pockets more and more. Hopefully you've got something out of this. And if you've got friends, I certainly know people personally who have taken the weight loss jab, then feel free to share this with them and try and give them some insights as to why maybe they're not making the right choices. If this is more information that you'd like to know on this, please drop us a comment and I'll try and get some more for you in future episodes. Well, hopefully you don't know too many people that are taking this jab, and you've got people around you that maybe have more interest in their health than a quick fix for a summer picture. But it's like I said, it's widespread. Very widespread, and people I've been told that have been taking this are the last people I would have expected, to be honest. It seems to be a blind spot that lots and lots of people have. But hopefully more and more comes out, more and more questions are asked, and as a result, more and more people start to make different choices, and they don't continue to take this if they've taken it already, and more people don't take it at all to begin with. But I guess time will tell on that one. All we can do is continue to try and expose it, continue to try and ask questions, and continue to try and encourage a healthy lifestyle rather than a simple jab to get you ready for the beach. It just sounds so insane to say out loud, but unfortunately it's something that we're seeing more and more, a lot more than we should be. Well, thank you for tuning in with me this evening for this week's episode of Health Code. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for trending. I shall see you then. Have a great Tuesday. Bye for now.